Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting straight into business intelligence, or BI. Forget the jargon for a second. Think of it more like a special kind of vision for businesses swimming in data.
hmm
It's really about getting past just looking at numbers to, understanding what they're really saying. This lets you spot problems early, maybe even find opportunities you totally miss otherwise.
Precisely. And we're not just talking theory today. We've got two, I think, really compelling real-world examples that show what BI can actually do.
Yeah.
Our aim is to show you how using data smartly with the right approach leads to results you can actually measure, sometimes surprising ones.
Exactly. So first up, we'll dive into how this big restaurant chain tackled a major food waste issue. They used BI not just to see how bad it was, but to, well, actually fix it.
Right.
Then we'll switch over to healthcare, looking at how a hospital system used BI to connect the dots, data-wise, and really boost patient care. Sound good?
Let's do it. So the restaurant chain first. Okay, picture this. Loads of locations, right? Each one is just constantly pumping out data sales, inventory, uh, customer feedback, all that stuff. It's a lot to handle.
Well, absolutely. And their big challenge was like walking a tightrope. They needed enough ingredients, obviously, but didn't want loads of food spoiling.
The classic inventory problem.
Yeah, but worse because it's food, right? And what's really interesting is at first they didn't even have a clear picture of how much waste they actually had, kind of flying blind.
That's exactly where the BI team came in. And their first step wasn't, fancy new software. It was more about digging into the data they already had, understanding what was being tracked, how it was used, like detectives, really.
Piecing together the clues. And it turned out they were tracking some key things already, weren't they?
Yeah, surprisingly useful stuff.
Like how much of each ingredient went to each location.
And how much of each dish they made each day?
And, of course, what customers actually ordered day to day. But it was all separate.
Exactly, in silos. And the clever part was just connecting those dots. By comparing deliveries, prep amounts, and sales, the BI analyst could suddenly see really clearly how much was being wasted.
For the first time, basically.
Yeah. And they put this onto a dashboard, made it easy for the decision makers to see.
So what was the big reveal?
French fries. Turns out the humble French fry was the #1 source of waste.
No way. How much?
Something like 10, even 20% leftover across all the restaurants. It's huge.
Wow, that's a lot of potential profit just gone.
Precisely. And having that specific insight directly from the BI work meant the operations team could act. They weren't just guessing anymore. They had the data.
So they recommended cutting fry deliveries.
Yeah, by a data-backed 10% across the board.
And it worked.
It made a direct impact. The BI team gave them the intel to pinpoint that specific waste issue and cut it down significantly.
It's a great example of data leading straight to a tangible business improvement.
Okay, let's switch gears now to the hospital system. Different industry, different data challenges. Patient information is obviously sensitive, and there's just so much of it. The main problem they faced was communication, or lack of it, with doctors outside their own network.
Right. Like if you see a specialist who isn't directly part of that hospital.
Exactly. Getting your test results or history from the hospital could be a real pain for that external doctor. The systems just didn't talk to each other easily.
Which created issues, I imagine.
Big ones. What often happened was the external doctor wouldn't have the full picture, so they end up ordering tests that had already been done at the hospital. Duplicate tests.
Oof. That sounds expensive and inefficient. For everyone.
It really was. Costs went up for the hospital, costs went up for the patient, and it slowed things down. Just not good care.
So the hospital realized this was a data problem, essentially.
They did. They brought in BI specialists specifically to build systems, data sharing systems to fix this.
And what was the solution?
The BI team designed this data integration pipeline. Think of it like a secure channel. It pulls together all the key patient info from the hospital's different systems, records, lab results, radiology, everything in one place.
A single database.
Basically, yeah. A unified database that authorized doctors could access, even if they weren't hospital employees.
And they curated what went in, not just everything.
Right. They focus on the critical stuff, past visits, all the tests, allergies, key medical details, the essentials for good care.
Makes sense. So how does that pipeline work, roughly?
Well, there are stages. First, you ingest the data, pull it securely from all the sources. Then, really important, you clean it up, make sure it's accurate and consistent.
Because different systems might format things differently.
Exactly. So you transform it for consistency, and then finally you deliver it securely to that unified database with strict access controls, of course.
And the results, were they significant?
Oh, definitely. Cutting out the duplicate tests saved the hospital money and resources right away.
But the bigger win must have been for patient care.
Absolutely. Doctors having the full picture means better diagnoses, more effective treatment plans, just fundamentally better care.
And patients save money, too, avoiding tests they don't need.
Yep. Plus, the whole hospital operation just became more efficient overall.
And this was all driven by the BI team building those tools.
That's the key takeaway. They built the infrastructure that enabled that transformation.
So, looking back at both the restaurant and the hospital, what's the big picture here, the main principle?
I think the core idea is that BI is about empowering better decisions. It automates getting the right information to the right people. Whether that's optimizing fries or improving patient outcomes, it's about using data strategically.
It really is fascinating how that same basic idea, using data intelligently, applies in such different worlds, fast food and healthcare.
Yeah, it shows the versatility.
And it highlights the role of the BI analysts, right? The people actually building these systems.
Definitely. They're the architects behind the scenes, creating these tools that help organizations anticipate needs and reach their goals. They're often the unsung heroes.
It makes you think, doesn't it? Those wasted fries, those duplicated tests, totally different problems solved by looking at the data in the right way. It really prompts you, the listener, to consider where might similar hidden opportunities or risks lie in your own work, or even your interests, just waiting to be uncovered by data.
And that leads to a final thought, perhaps.
Mm.
In this world just overflowing with data, it's not enough just to have it. The real skill, the crucial thing, is being able to interpret it, to connect the dots, and use those insights to actually do something meaningful. So maybe think about it. What seemingly unrelated pieces of information, even in your everyday life, could you potentially link together to find something surprising, something valuable that you're just not seeing right now?